Well, good morning or good afternoon, as the case might be, depending upon where you're located. We'd like to thank you for joining us today. We're going to have a little bit of a discussion about eProject Express for you. And as you could see there in the slide, we will be emailing you a copy of the slides for those of you that always want to pose that question. And we're excited about doing that for you so that you have them as a reference. The product is actually a multiple department investment by the United States Department of Energy, the Federal Energy Management Program, and the Weatherization and Intergovernmental Programs Office, and our friends at Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. Your presenters for today, the voice you hear is mine. My name is Dale Haas. I'll be one of your tour guides today. I've had the pleasure of being both the member of leadership of an energy services company, generally referred to as an ESCO, and the honor in the last many years, a couple of decades, to support states in standing up or assisting them with modernizing their guaranteed energy savings performance contracting programs, as well as a very hands-on experience with, well, more than a few projects. I've had the honor of working for, with, or in 44 of the 50 states. So, kind of look forward to your questions about energy savings performance contracting and certainly about EPX. Because of our time limitations and the number of those that have joined us, feel free to send us an email with any questions that you have, or you can use the chat feature in the software here and pose those questions. As we distribute the responses, we'll make them anonymous, so you don't have to worry about your question being from you. It'll just be a question that goes to all. So speaking of being honored, I'm joined by Liz Stewart from Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. Liz, want to introduce yourself to the folks?
Sure, thanks, Dale. So I've been at the lab for over 13 years.
Unmute, please. There you go.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Hi, Liz Stewart. I've been at the lab for, a little over 13 years. And I do research related to energy efficiency and demand response programs and policy. And then a lot of my focus is research in the ESCO world, the world of ESPC, and of course, working on the eProject builder. So we're looking forward to sharing our special presentation focused for K-12 schools. Take it away, Dale.
Great. Thanks, Liz. And thank you all for joining us. Again, we do welcome your questions. We will anonymize them, and then we'll send them back out with the questions and appropriate responses. Certainly, if you have any follow-on questions, reach out to Liz or myself anytime. We're glad to try to assist in any way we can. So for our discussion today, one of the things that's really clear in the world of education is, in fact, the nexus of things that's going on. So quality education, that's your role. That's what you do. Well, lo and behold, now there's a great big new grant management responsibility. And added to that is healthy and safe working and learning environment. And finally, there's this ongoing dilemma of facility, energy, and operating costs and how they impact you and what you do. So to make that point a little bit more focused for you, that's nexus, that place where they intersect, is performance contracting. And the reason for that is, well, energy savings performance contracting may be able to assist you, and eProject Express is in fact a pathway designed specifically to assist with those performance contracting projects. So if we think about a definition for energy savings performance contracting, just to make sure we're all on the same page, believe it or not, I captured this definition from the United States Department of Energy in, I believe it was 1999. So while there may have been some shifts and changes in the way we think about how performance contracting is applied, not really much has changed in this root definition. Separately, from a public domain perspective, I really like this legislatively empowered. Yep, there's a law in your state that supports this. And what we're going to try to point out is that this is a budget neutral means of procurement that allows you to repay an investment and garner the results. So Vice President Harris on April the 4th actually echoed something that we've all known for a long time. Most school districts, the second largest yearly expense after salaries is the energy bill. Wow, that says a lot. If we can become more efficient, that has value. So we pulled up this little graphic to give you an indication. I want to walk through it with you. So now, today, you likely, before any sorts of project, have some bar, some large obligation for energy costs. And along with those energy costs, you have operation and maintenance costs. And there's some piece of your district's cash flow. So just assuming that it stays pretty stagnant and we project forward, what would happen if we used this concept of performance contracting? Well, we'd make things more efficient, dramatically reducing the energy and operation and maintenance cost. But to get there, we're probably going to borrow some money, even on top of the grants, so we'd have to repay that. And anything above those two line items would be, in fact, cash positive savings. Doesn't always happen, but you can ask for it to happen if you are looking for that sort of benefit. And then, of course, after the project is retired, after that debt responsibility has been retired, sometime after that, then everything that was accomplished for you has reduced your energy operation and maintenance bill, and all of those dollars become savings. Who knows what you can use them for? In the world of education, it seems like there is always another need. So, you know what? If you haven't heard from an energy services company person yet, you likely will soon. And while ESPC is a great solution for you, you know, even with all the money that you're going to get in grants, it may not be enough. And if you do one of these projects, frankly, there is a lot to know and keep up with. And we know you have a primary responsibility in quality education. So the key here is making your education about performance contracting as simple and efficient as possible, and providing a resource way to manage it. So if you think about the why now version of things, this is really a sort of a simple way to take a look at what's occurring today. Number one, there are grants, an overwhelming amount of grants, great large sums of money. The White House put together a toolkit, which you can see, you can find when we deliver the slides for you, if you're not familiar with it, in a whole host of things to improve indoor air quality, to make you more efficient, to deal with resiliency, all important stuff. But what we continue to hear in the marketplace is, particularly for schools, well, I just have more needs than there are funds. Okay, it's a big amount of money, but it's a big lift. We have all this stuff across our entire district. We have the need to modernize things. You know, stuff's just broken. It hasn't been attended to for years. I often like to remark that if you think about what the list of stuff is that needs to be repaired, it's in many cases called this maintenance list, or this list of things that need attention. Well, you know, it wouldn't need attention had it been dealt with along the way. And then you add to that this really needed focus on fresh air to make our spaces more healthy. Well, when you start adding that fresh air, you need a number of mechanical devices to do that. And while you do it, it really makes the cost of utility or operating the facilities go up. So we got to figure out a way to deal with this. And then there's resilience. Wow, whether it's wind or flood or whatever your disaster is, fire, we got to get our educational facilities back up and operating as quickly as possible. So if you look at the grants and you recognize, well, that's a lot, but it may not be enough, then we want to try to help you understand this concept of leverage. So there is this tremendous benefit of leveraging funds. So in a traditional approach or an old approach, you know, and we saw this, frankly, not too many years ago with the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act, you know, a lot of funds, spent the funds, bought the stuff that we needed, but hey, it's once spent, it's sort of gone. So there's another model here that says, well, what if we use those grant funds as a down payment and then allow the savings from the additional work that we can fulfill by borrowing funds to repay those borrowed funds? Wow. So just to try to drive that home, here's a little analogy for you. Hope it's not too silly, but let's just propose that your rich uncle gives you, $75,000. And he says, what I want you to do is go buy your family a place to live that you can be happy in. So you could take the $75,000 and you could buy a small house. I remember not so long ago, we even called them maybe tiny houses, but you could buy that outright. And it might work for you. It might be a little cramped. Maybe you end up with that one bathroom space and you really thought you needed more than that for you and your children. But, you could do that. No further obligations required. Or you could buy the house of your dreams using the $75,000 down. But I wonder, how are you going to pay those house payments every month, every year for the next 20, 30 years? But then there's another way to think about leveraging these funds. What if you bought a property with an income concept? Maybe it's a duplex, maybe it's got a separate apartment, but it's got an income. And with the $75,000 down, you buy this larger property with an investment, and you use that income to cover the cost of the mortgage. Wow. And if somebody would guarantee that you're going to receive that income, then you've really got it made. Well, for us, that's the winner. That is energy savings performance contracting. Just remember, when you borrow the funds to fulfill an ESPC project, the district's going to spend this money anyway. It's either going to go to the utility companies for inefficiency, if you will, above what it would have to be, or you can use it in an investment into the public facilities that you already hold as assets. One of those has to seem better to you. Now, while these grant funds are available, well, our administration's doing the best it can. It's teeing up these support documents. So the Better Buildings Challenge in its K-12 sector, and frankly, something that we'll show you later in a resource called PCNRC, or Performance Contracting National Resource Center, tools available for you, guidelines, educational materials. And then there's the Loan Programs Office, Renewable Energy and Efficiency Solicitation, $3 billion for retrofit projects. Wow, a lot of grant funds. We still think they need to be leveraged. In either event, think about how DOE's new eProject Express can help you. Like I mentioned earlier, you have a responsibility. So what you really need is some way to get educated about the concepts, and then secondarily, a way to track and manage the achievement of this sort of work. Well, in fact, that is eProject Express. So IT has a cost for you. It does. People to manage it, places to store things. This is a free, secure, web-based resource for you. And it really sort of helps coach, as it becomes more standardized across the nation, the entire set of users and providers, if you will, institutions and ESCOs, on what the managed expectations are of information to be saved and reported in a summary fashion so that you know how to access it simply and quickly for your use and benefit. Wow, how powerful can that be? A free tool. Streamlined reporting. I just imagine the number of times when I was working with a number of school districts and I'd hear the superintendent say, well, I got this note from the board that said for this month's board meeting, I need to deliver a report on the status. Could you as the ESCO go out and get me all the data that I need to report? Where we started, where we are, where we're headed, what changed, all of it. I need it in a presentation. And by the way, that occurs next week. And I don't care who you are. Folks scratch their head and go, oh my. Now I have to put together this new requirement that I wasn't expecting, get it off in a draft, have someone review it, make sure it's okay, put it in. It's a lot to make sure that we're reporting appropriately to those boards. So from a district standpoint, what the tool really provides is that huge resource of eliminating the headache of how to manage this data. By the way, in this slide, you'll see me mention, and you haven't heard me say it before, when you as a district initiate the project, your work besides review and approval has been done. It's likely that you're going to direct your ESCO to do this work, to take the mountains of information that they collect for you to ensure that they can provide a guaranteed energy savings project and summarize it in eProject Express, giving you the ability to deliver the reports that you want to deliver when you want, and the time that you want, in the way that you want. Wow, what an amazing tool. Now for the ESCOs, since we're going to make this be their work project, well, it was our goal to make it as simple as possible. So we talked to a number of ESCOs. One of them specifically shared with me in a phone interview, gee, Dale, what you guys are presenting here is going to take me from something that took a couple of days to try to roll up for the right school board report into something that may take me an hour, maybe two at the most. But once I've got it done, I can use it over and over and over again. The system automatically updates the information each year for reporting, saving you time, saving the ESCO time. Wow, this is a great Express solution. So here's some perspectives that I thought might be helpful for you to consider. And we know this happens, right? Every so often we get these new school board members and they come on and they ask questions like, well, what is this thing? I mean, we're paying this note and you tell me we have this performance contract. Well, how do I get caught up? Where do I find all the information? And how do I illustrate this project is actually paying for itself? There's a workload for you. Or I have new sustainability goals. I don't know how to track the impact of this project. I know we're more efficient, and that's got to make us more sustainable and eliminating some carbon. But how do I track it? How do I keep score? Or maybe you're in the spot of saying, I'm thinking about doing this. I can see the value of it, but I have no idea how I'm going to keep up with knowing if the project's doing what it's supposed to do. And once again, I remind you, we know that you already have a full-time job. My board just asked for me a report. I used that example before because I know it happens. Maybe from a different perspective, where do I find all the project data and files? You know, as a facility manager, I need the submittals years down the road. I got to find this stuff. And we all know how that works. You go around, you're looking in file cabinets and notebooks, and we're looking the warranty information. Where am I supposed to get replacement parts? What was the exact strategy that I was supposed to be paying attention to so that we're all on page with how to achieve the savings that are paying for our project? Or from the facilities guy's role, I've been asked to prove for the superintendent that we're doing what we're supposed to do. I need all this original data and a comparison between the current data, our utility bills. Wow, how am I going to dig all this stuff up? Finally, there's our finance folks. And in school districts, if no more than any other public entity, we recognize you're dealing with a fixed budget. If you run out of money, folks don't generally run around and say, well, we're short, just give me more, and that magically happens. You're managing a fixed budget. So if you're not confident of where that savings was coming from, if you're the new finance director and you're trying to figure out, was this a smart decision to use ESPC, you need a tool of some sort to prove that it is. Or you get 8-10 years down the road and you scratch your head and think, I think we're paying more now for the utilities and the loan repayment than we were up front. That's not how this is supposed to work. Where do I find the files to see what's going on with this project? We get it. We know what you need. You need a flexible, easy to use Express solution. You need eProject Express. From that set of slides, I'm going to actually stop sharing my screen and lean on Liz to take it from there and share us a little bit more about the program itself.
Thanks, Dale. We do have
Liz,
one question.
over to you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, great. I think I want to keep showing the slides for a little bit before I go into the demo. But we do have a question. Someone asked if schools have used ESPCs to finance electric buses, and wondered if they had if anyone has any resources that can be pointed to for that. I don't know the answer to that, and I don't know if that's one we can answer right offhand, but we might be able to find out. Do you have any information on that, Dale? Are you there, Dale? Well, I guess Dale had to go away.
No, he just missed clicking that unmute button. Sorry about that.
Okay.
I don't have any resources for that. I know in many states, the legislation does not include transportation, but it's important to recognize that things are changing in a lot of places. So we need to ensure that you're staying up with what is legal for these projects. So it's really important to look to your policymakers to include transportation as something that you can modernize and use the efficiency for. If any of our attendees actually have a model, please send it to us as the host. Please send it to me, and we'll be glad to package it up and see that our other attendees can share it. So Liz, do you have the slides back now?
I do. That's great. Thanks. Yeah, I just want to give a quick overview. So this is not a training webinar per se. We offer those separately. But I did want to give a quick overview on just how things work very quickly. So first of all, we'll show some slides and I'll give a quick live demo of a few of the features on the website itself. So first of all, obviously you need to register for an account. So if you're interested, you can go to eprojectbuilder.lbl.gov and click that request an account link. And we'll see on the next slide what you have to do to register. So it asks you quite a bit of information, you know, your name, your organization, things like that. We actually have, it's a very secure site. It's got multi-factor authentication login, and we also want to verify that all users of the site are truly, you know, users. They're ESCOs, they're customers of ESPC, facilitators, folks like that. So we do ask your information for verification purposes. And then we'll go to the next slide to show you what happens when you first log in. So when you first, you know, if you've just newly registered and you first log in, you get to see a screen where you choose which screen view you'd like to see. You can access the eProject Builder view or the eProject-Express at any time. So I just want to make it clear that eProject Builder and eProject-Express are the same system. They just represent a different pathway for getting your data into the system and reporting out. eProject Builder has a much more larger number of fields, kind of detailed information at the energy conservation measure level. And it's, you know, used by a lot of folks, but we did actually Energy Services Coalition went out and spoke to states and few ESCOs in the state and local and educational sectors and said, we don't need all those bells and whistles. We need something. And so we created this streamlined version, which is eProject-Express. It's got a much more streamlined Excel-based data template for getting the data in. It's got certain things that are specific to state, local, and educational users. So why don't we go to the next slide. So when you land, you'll see this in a minute when I give you a live demo, but go ahead and move to the next slide. That's the portfolio page. I have a lot of demo projects in there, so we'll take a quick look of that. Next slide, please. So the initiation of an eProject-Express or eProject Builder project is very quick. So there's basically two roles for users, or three roles for users in the system. There's the project initiator, which is typically the customer. I want to do a project. I know who my ESCO is going to be, and I'm ready to set up the shell of the project in eProject Express, so the ESCO can then, upload the data as the project goes through its IGA phase and everything, whenever we have our data ready for me to look at. So the initial project initiation that the customer does is very quick, takes less than a minute. You simply add a few pieces of information. What's the project? What market is it in? And that's, state, local, university, K-12. What's the primary location, zip code, and then who's your ESCO? That's it. Very quick. And then once the project is created in the system, it will automatically send an email to yourself and to whoever you named as your project builder or ESCO that, project X has been created in the system and it's ready to receive data. So there's a whole system of email notifications. So the two people that are named here, whoever initiated it, whoever's named as the project builder, they are the owners of the project. And anytime something major happens on the project, for example, initiation of course, or once the ESCO uploads data and submits it for review online, an email goes out and says that has happened. When M&V data has been uploaded and submitted, an email goes out with that. And when it's been approved, an email goes out with that. So it's not like you don't have to still talk to each other, but it just gives you an idea of what's happening in eProject Builder with your project as things happen. Go ahead to the next slide, Dale. There's a very important feature here that's beneficial for both ESCOs and customers, and this is the documents section. So as Dale was talking about, there are a lot of documents that are needed throughout the performance period, maybe a few years down the road or more. Where are those documents that told us how this project is going to work? Well, you've got this electronic filing cabinet here in eProject Express with your project. It accepts all kinds of documents, so it makes it very easy to collect and archive those project files. I'm going to show you a quick demo of this live in a minute. Next slide, please, Dale. And then the data template itself, we're not going to go into detail here. That's what you can get in the training materials or training webinars. But basically, it's a one-page Excel-based template that's got identification information. It's got the estimated savings, the guaranteed savings, information like that, the number of buildings, the square footage, and it gives you a sense of priority for these projects. You may ideally want to collect all the data that's listed in here, or you may want to prioritize. And so we have little number 1, 2, and 3 to show you which fields stakeholders, after talking to them, feel are essential, important, and very useful. But it makes the data entry, as I think Dale mentioned, the ESCOs, it's much simplified from the eProject Builder version, which is a multi-page Excel workbook. This is one page, makes it very streamlined to get the information into the system. And once you have the information in the system, that's when you can start tracking it. You can upload your M&V data as the years go by, etc. Let's go to the next slide. So there are several different kinds of reports and information you can get out of eProject Express. If we're talking about your annual measurement and verification, verifying that your project is saving what it needs to save to pay for itself, there are two different quick M&V reports. We get an annual single year report for a project. So whatever an M&V, is it year 1, is it year 3, year 5, quick report on that. And go to the next slide, Dale. We also have a single page cumulative report. So the annual report is a summary of the extensive M&V report that your ESCO will prepare, but it's very streamlined for them to input just the key summary information to that annual M&V report. And then once you've got that in there, then it rolls up to a cumulative report. So You can either report annually, or you can generate this report with a click of a button to just see where your project is at in the performance period and how it's tracking against the guaranteed savings. And then one more. I think what we'll do now is, I think we'll go ahead and I'll show you the live demo for a little bit here, probably about 10-minute demo. So maybe now I can share my screen. Does that work, Dale? Okay, great.
That'd be great.
Okay, good. All right, I've got the page up here. Hopefully it'll be big enough for you to see. All right, is that pretty visible?
Got it now. That's good, Liz. Thanks.
Okay, great. So I've already logged in to the website, but as I mentioned, there is multi-factor authentication. So when you log in, it will send you a code to your email, and then you'll have to enter that code to log in. And of course, that helps keep your information secure. For example, if you're on a long project and the person that was originally your ESCO has left the organization or something, they can no longer access your data, and we'll find out that they've left, or you can always notify us anytime if you have staff turnover and you need to transfer this to someone else in your organization, or if the ESCO has staff turnover, you can come to us and we can very easily transfer the ownership of the project. So I'm landed here on the eProject Express menu, and there's over here on the right, we've got quick links. So once you kind of get used to how the system works, you might just want to access those if you want. And as I mentioned, you can switch back to the EPB menu view. It's got a little bit more information on it. You can always enter an eProject Express project or an eProject Builder project, and they all go to the same database. So I'm just going to quickly show you a few things, kind of a recap of some things that we mentioned earlier. So obviously, I've been doing a lot of demos and a lot of testing, so I'm not showing real projects. This is on our test site. So I have a lot of projects. You probably won't have this many, but this gives you an overview of however many projects you do have. Over here is on the upper left, you can export the data for all your projects. If you want to do analysis, you can initiate a new project from this page. You can download the data template if you are an ESCO and are going to fill out that template. Now I'm going to go to an individual project. Each project has its own dashboard and things you can do to it. So I'm going to just choose this one here, Dana MV Test 1. So when you come to the dashboard, you get this great little next steps. And this will change depending on the status. If this were a new project, it would say your project is now ready to enter data. So depending on what's happening with your project, it'll give you some instructions on what you can do. It's got some summary information at the top, and then it's got these on the side. Now the project I'm showing you has been entered, it's been approved, the initial project information, and it's now in the M&D phase. I won't go into detail there. Again, this is not a full training webinar, but just to give you an idea of what's going on here. Manage participants down here. This is important because projects are initially assigned to just one project builder and one project initiator. In this case, I am the project builder and the project initiator. I set it up for demo purposes. And this is where the ESCO or the customer could add a third-party project viewer who gets read-only access to their project if you need to. This is the all-important project documents section here. So this is what we showed you a little bit earlier. There's a couple of things going on this page. You can see that I've already uploaded a lot of documents. We've got, for example, the escalation table. We've got IGA data. We might have some pre-construction photos. So you can see that a lot of these are zip files. We have an M&V full report. We've got a commissioning. So there's a lot of different documents that you're going to want to keep with your project for the years that it's here and that it's in the performance period. This little thing here, this file checklist with a little blue triangle next to it, if I click this, This is a list of recommended documents that you make sure the ESCO includes and uploads and you keep on file with your project. So it's a great little checklist. We really recommend that you refer to it, both the customer and the ESCO side, refer to it like, oh, gee, I didn't get the construction contract if it's separate, or, oh, you know what, load study inventory is not in here yet. So you kind of look at this list, look at what you've got below, and make sure you've got the files that are so important to keep. So I also want to show that you can do a quick summary report of basically what your final proposal was, whatever's in here, by clicking the EPX project summary here on the left. And it shows what was entered in a very compact form into that EPX project template. And you can even download it as a PDF. So it's got all the information, project characteristics, it's got check boxes for what kinds of measures were entered, what were the average annual, pre-project consumption, what's the price, what are the projected results, all that information. And there are even some user-defined fields down here in the lower left for extra fields that you may want to track on for your own that don't even appear here. And then I also want to show you the measurement and verification. We touched on those briefly earlier, but because this project is it's already been entered, submitted, and approved, it's in the performance period, so the M&V module is available. So I'm going to click that. We can see this particular project has a few years of M&V under its belt. Over here on the right of this M&V summary table, we see the status. You can see that year 0, that's the post-installation verification period. Year 1, 1 and 2 are all in approved, so those M&V reports have been uploaded and submitted. And again, the ESCO fills in summary information for the M&V. So it's a really great compact report, and I'll show you what that looks like as well. So let's look at year 1, for example. We can just click on this little action menu item at the left and look at our M&V report. And we can also download the M&V report, and I have, oops, yeah, there we go. We can cancel sorry, let me drop that into my folder here and show you what that looks like. Just so you can get a quick look at that. Downloads as a PDF. And sorry, it's showing up on my other screen here, so let me drag it over to here. There we go. That's probably a little small, so let me make that bigger. Great. So this is the summary of what's happening for your project in M&V year 1. It's obviously not everything in the many pages of information that the ESCO will provide in terms of what they measured and everything for your ECMs, but it's got contact information. It's got what the annual verified savings were here on the right. Key dates. So here's a really important date right here. Next year M&V report date. And by the way, that's a bug right now that is in the process of being changed to next year M&V report due date. We're fixing that one right now. But this is where the next year's due date gets entered, and that's what's going to trigger your reminder emails that I mentioned earlier. So if our next year's due date is 2/2/2021, then 2 months before that date, the project initiator and the project ESCO are going to get a reminder email that their M&V report is due. And then 2 weeks before that date, again, another reminder is going to go out. So that's your quick 1-button M&V report. All I had to do was click that button there. And then the cumulative report, similarly, I click this button here, and then it's going to download a cumulative report. And I will just show you briefly what that looks like as well. I think we have enough time. Great, hopefully that's visible. Let's put it at 125. There we go. So it shows, what the estimated annual savings, the guaranteed annual savings, that information was entered when the project was first entered, and then what was verified for each year that has been completed in terms of the M&V so far. And it's also a great way to see what the status is of your M&V years. If you've got, say, year 1 and year 4 in here and they're complete, but years 2 and 3 have no information, or they say pending, you can say, oh, looks like we're missing years, 2 and 3. So it's a great, quick little report card of how your project is doing, what's overdue, and what's happening with it. Finally, very briefly, I do want to show you the custom reporting feature. It's a quite flexible feature, and if you want extra coaching on it, we've got some. Oh, let me go. Sorry, let me delete that report. I was doing some testing there. So normally when you land here, you're going to see this screen without a report on it. So there's a custom report tab and a report library tab. There's some standardized reports just available right here, all ready to go. If you start using eProject Express and you'd like a new kind of standardized report that you think everyone could use, you can always let us know and we can add something that you think would be useful. And I'll give you an example of what that looks like. So just choosing one of these, I'll do a project summary. I click the little blue plus, run this report, and voila. It's giving me a project name, the different fields that I wanted. I just wanted a list of my projects. It's very easy to edit as a new report. If I want to change it, I just click edit as a new report. And these are the fields that are in this report, and I can delete them, move them around, change different fields. I can search for other fields by just starting to type in the box. So it's pretty easy to use in a certain way, but it's also very extensive. Once you start doing reporting, you can play around with it, and then if you've got any particular questions, you can ask us. I'm going to go back to the report library and also show my saved reports. Here's one, June demo project report portfolio. So if I wanted, it's very easy to sort of customize your report and save something. Let's say I edit this as a new report, and I'm just going to do something real quick. I'm going to remove this, and now I can save this report. So as easy as that, I can just save it. Voila. And so what that means is that once you set up a report you like, that's going to help you report out to your stakeholders. You can have as many as you want. It saves your report for quick access over and over again, but even with updated information. So if you have updated M&V information or a new project or something like that, I can just run this report again and again and again, year after year, with my updated information. And with that, I think I'm going to stop sharing and ask you to return to the slides, Dale.
Great. I'll make every effort to do that. Here we are, I think. So one of the things that Liz said a couple of times we want to make sure that you're aware of is this was not intended to be training for EPX, but we have a recorded version on the LBL website, as well as we have these monthly EPX webinars for training. The next one's going to be particularly focused on municipalities, but hey, how you use the system is how you use the system. Additionally, we want you to know that you can always reach out to us and say, I'm trying to figure out how to use this from my district. I've got some personal questions that I want to ask that I think are specific to me. Can you answer them for me? Even the question like electric buses. It's a great question. I get it. But we would do our best to guide you that you have to look to state legislation to support that concept before you could include it in your performance contract and therefore want to track it. So help is available in a variety of ways. We want you to recognize that there are some materials there that are electronic guides, references, definitions, and some recorded videos, much like this one will likely be that will be available for you to review or share with others if you so choose. So one final thought that I wanted to share, and I just remember all the folks that I've worked with in school districts around the nation, and they tell me, well, things like the ESCO said that that's not how we do it. It's their project and they only do it one way. I'm going to reinforce for you as loudly as I can. No, it's your project. And you have the option and ability to add the requirement for your ESCO to use eProject Express. Why would you do that? Well, then the input is a part of their project work, if you will. You'd also want to go to that checklist of files, or you may just want to tell your ESCO up front in the RFP, here's the deal. I'm going to want you to use eProject Express, and I'm going to want you to put all those files out there so that I can find them, not just at the end of the construction of the project when you really sort of turn it over to me, but from 5 years from now and 10 years from now, 12 years from now, 15 years, so I can find all that stuff when people ask me for it. So what we've done is we've added sort of a suggested script for you and posted it at the link you see in the lower left-hand corner. That should give you a Word file that you have the ability to take through your procurement people, add to your request for proposals for the work that you want to accomplish, leveraging the grant funds that are available today, using energy savings performance contracting to get as much work as you can done in these critical times. So we want to thank you for joining us. I've only fielded the one question that I've seen in the webinar software. So if you have other questions now, we're glad to take those. Be challenging to open mics with a number of you, but if you're typing away, and if not, we want to draw your attention again to the email addresses at the bottom of the screen and have you recognize that we are here to help and support this product, this concept for you. It's about making this eProject Express an express solution for you and your district, making it easy for the ESCOs, making it easy for the institutions, so that you have a great solution for how to track and manage the file data. So am I going to send the slides out with the links? Absolutely. Those will be provided and will be a part of the slide deck that we'll email out to all of you that attended. Looking for other questions? Last opportunity? Seeing none, I certainly want to thank you on behalf of myself and Liz for joining us today. We hope that customizing this so that you understand a little bit about this concept of leveraging ESPC, but moreover, how to use eProject Express as the appropriate, free, secure resource to track and manage your projects. Thanks for joining us. We hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye now.